John?
Wait, no, don't go yet.
Welcome to Podman Pipecast.
The premier pipe band podcast.
Nice. I can give you a little clap emoji for that.
Matt messed up. Did you guys catch that?
Yes.
That was not me. That was Cottini.
Yeah.
Good job,
welcome back, everyone. We're back with the firefighters, like last episode. We're back with Sean
Deja vu
Cahill
all over again.
We're back with Sean Cahill and Matt Cottini of the Arizona Fire Service Pipe Band. If you didn't hear the last episode, go back and listen to it. I don't know what you're doing. You can't just walk in the middle of a two-part episode. Does that?
You're going to be so lost. You won't understand. There's like plot twists. There's a whole character arc. You're going to need it.
Yeah. Trust us. Go back and listen to it.
You gotta take that hat off.
Oh, by the way, that's an excellent plug for our Patreon subscribers. Patreon.com/podbandpipecast. For a mere $5 per month, you can see the video of this stream, and you could have just seen Matt wearing a very official firefighting helmet.
Yeah, that was it's the one they gave him. Special helmet for you, Matt.
There.
There you go. That's better.
All right, that's better.
All right. So we're going to talk to them today about their statewide Arizona Fire Service Pipe Band, which I'm not going to attempt to explain. We'll just let you guys explain it. So first off, what is the Arizona Fire Service Pipe Band and what does it do?
All right, first off, I got to say that every time you say that, like, I think of Kindergarten Cop. Have you ever seen Kindergarten Cop? With Arnold Schwarzenegger? Oh, just the two, because he plays a game with the kids called Who's Your Daddy and What Does He Do? And every time you say it, that's what I hear. So it's like, it's killing me. So the Fire Service Pipe Band is basically a state level conglomeration of all the pipe bands within the state that are fire department related. Is that a way to put it there? I don't know. We'll let you decide. So it's progressed. So initially it started after the Yarnell Hill incident there with the 19 hotshots. Because we had a huge band, I think 100 plus pipers and drummers for that memorial service there, and tuning and playing the same tunes and finding what was common for everybody, even across our state, was really difficult. So Gary Johnstone came back and was like, we got to do something about this. And that's kind of what launched the idea. And then fast forward a few years past that, we finally made it happen. So it's parent organization for the whole state to educate and assist with any piping and drumming needs that any fire department might have, whether it's for a funeral, they need extra players for things. If they don't have a band and they have a member need for the band, that's kind of, we fill in that missing link there. If that makes sense, and Matt will expound on that.
Well, it's like I was talking to you guys before we got started. So I work for Peoria Fire. So I'm the Peoria Fire. I'm a Peoria Fire drummer. That's the uniform that I wear. And Sean with Surprise, that's the uniform he wears. But of all of the fire department pipers and drummers in the state, we say, hey, we can be part of this umbrella organization. You're your band. You're autonomous to you. But when we need to get together, like Yarnell, we need to be standardized and we need to do this right. And it goes to what we talked about in the first episode. So if you didn't watch the first episode, this is the point about why it's so critical. You're going to be lost right now.
It was very threatening how you got close.
I know, you got right up in my grill on that one.
So, so we all work under this one umbrella to come together, standardize things, and be able to, like Sean was saying, I like to refer to it as mutual aid. Like there's mutual aid with fire departments. If one town is having a fire and they need help, they can call the other town. Well, in Peoria, we've got 2 pipes, myself, a base. So when we're having a graduation or a fire station opening, or something like that, we kind of put out the bat signal. We have an app and an email system that we use, blast it out. Hey, who can come and help? So there might be 6, 8, or 10 players that, like Sean was saying in the last episode, that are filling up our band, but they're from all different cities or jurisdictions. And when we show up to any gig, and I'm going to brag a bit here, whether we're posting colors or funerals or these graduations, these other things, when we show up, we've got this down. We've got it down to a process that everybody knows, and we have the same movements. So if we say, hey, we're coming in here, we're going down that staircase, we're doing this formation, they go, okay, and we're going to play this tune, this tune, this tune. Okay, go get tuned, line up, go. I mean, we've got it down to a science, and I think with rare exception, it goes off really fantastic. But it's that standardization, it's that buy-in for everybody. You're welcome to be a part of this. You don't have to be. No one has to be. I think I can maybe name on one hand fire department players I know that said, no, I'm just going to do it for my department. I don't want to be a part of that. But then there's 150, Sean, 150-ish?
Yeah, in that neighborhood, yep.
From Prescott to Yuma to Sierra Vista to Sholo, and whenever there's a need, we come together and it gets done.
And the bigger piece of that is that our intention is to never go in somewhere where they have an existing group of players or anything and take over. We're there as a support role and to help them be successful with what they need to do. And I think that it's worked out really, really well over the years. And just on the piece that Matt was talking about, that he was bragging on us because it went a little, things we come in, everybody's got this set method of how we get ready to do something. We get together, everybody does it, and we do it. That took some time to get going. And I mean, 5 years ago, it was, okay, show up time is 3 hours prior to the event. And we were still struggling to get people ready and tuned up until we step off for whatever we're doing. And now that's shrunk down to, if we get everybody there an hour before and dressed, we're good. We can come out and we'll be fine. So just the workload on the band leadership for every band across the state, I would say, has decreased a bit because everybody's taking ownership in their piece of it versus just showing up and expecting Matt, hey Matt, get my drum ready. Hey Sean, my chanter's no good, whatever. So now they show up and we might have to move some tape on a chanter, but that's, we're getting people tuned really quick and we can, it's basically just keeping everybody in tune until we play.
Yeah. And the other thing we've moved into over the last few years that you've been involved in is we're becoming more of an educational organization. I like that term.
That's question number 2, Matt. We've actually just answered a couple questions here.
See how advanced I am? That's psychic.
Yep.
All right, I'll wait. Go ahead, ask that question.
Before we do, I feel like a standardized statewide pipe band makes sense. What do other states do, or why is this so different?
Well, we're the only state that has it. The only other similar thing is in Illinois, they have the Affiliated Firefighters of Illinois Honor Guard. So that entire state works together as one unit. Same thing, they're in their uniform, they're autonomous to themselves, but when they come together, it's all standardized.
California,
yeah,
Professional Firefighters, California, or the California Professional Firefighters, they have a group that performs. I believe that's like a one group. They have their own tartan and all that stuff. So, but it's very similar. Like they'll go out throughout the state, and any any union member firefighter in the state is welcome to join that, I believe. So
Yeah, so it's not common. So basically for other departments, and it kind of depends on where you're at. I mean, obviously if you're New York or Boston or something like that, you need a pipe band, you got one, you know. But I think when you come more west and you get a little more spread out and they get smaller, I know that there's a bunch of guys in Texas, like the guys in Round Rock and Waco and stuff. I know they've worked together to help each other with different things, and they're looking at how to develop that system a bit. But I think for the most part, it's like we experienced prior to this. We're on our own. And if you got one piper, that's what you got.
yeah, so I mean, like back east, obviously, FDNY has a huge band, and they've been around for a really long time, so they don't necessarily need the kind of help that that we provide to our departments, to smaller groups and bands.
So I have a follow-up question. When you were starting the state band, did anyone, I'm trying to ask this in a nice way that's not going to throw anyone under the bus, but Sean, you're the pipe major, right? Did anyone disagree, like, oh, well, I should be the pipe major? How was that setting that up, that situation?
Well, we voted that in initially, and it was nobody ever, like, to me said, and quite frankly, if they want to be, it by all means they can have their turn doing it. Like, I honestly, I have no ego in it. Like, it doesn't have to be me. I just think it ultimately kind of fell to me because I was the one bringing it forward, so it just fell in my lap. And then now it's kind of a game at events where guys, if they don't want to run it, then I get to run it. So, but I've been, fortunate to be surrounded by that folks that are competent players and good players in the fire service, and it's not a big deal. It really isn't. Like, it's kind of one of those days, do you want to run this thing today? So it's not like military, it's not like civilian. It's kind of, well, we're the east side today, so let's have a Mesa guy run this thing, or we're over here today, so let's have this guy run it. So if you need help, I'm right behind you, kind of thing. But so it's not as in your face, I guess. Like, I'm the pipe major, I'm gonna do what I say, kind of thing. That's the way it goes. So I don't think there's been any pushback because of that, though.
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's been any problems with that. I think there was at the start, naturally, just a little bit of, well, how does this work? Well, how are we going to do this? Well, wait, I've been drum sergeant, for this, and now you're, so then Sean has me as the drum sergeant. And so then there's just a little bit, but nothing problematic. And there was also, at the start of things, making clear to everybody, you're autonomous. You are your band. We're not here to tell you what to do as the Tucson band or the Mesa band or the Yuma band or whatever. But what we're here to do is that when we have to come together, we're going to come together as one good cohesive group putting on a good performance. And so, some bands like have different drum settings, for example, to different things. It's like, okay, well, we have to have one. So let's take Yuma as an example, because they're kind of out on their own there on the little desert island. And so they can play whatever they want. They can do whatever tunes they want. They can play the Flintstones theme when they post the colors, whatever they do, they do. But when they come to the Valley, or they go to anywhere else, and let's say the Arizona Memorial that we gather for, they do things this way. So even if they have some other settings for their 4/4s or America the Beautiful, whatever, when they show up here, you do it this way. And that just seemed to make sense to everybody. And it took a little time to make the change, but it seemed to make sense.
And I think we fairly kind of divvied up what settings we were using too. We didn't just say, well, these are my settings and use them. We said, well, Mesa's been using this one for a long time, so let's just use that setting. Or this one is the one that has been teaching everybody, so let's use that setting. Yeah. So it wasn't like we just said, well, throw all yours in the trash, like we're done with it. Don't ever play it that way again, so.
We also aligned with the way things are done in Colorado. So the Colorado Springs Memorial every year, we all go to that. That's the big thing. And so there were already snare settings and tenor and bass beatings. So, all right, that's what has already been going on. It works. It fills exactly the purpose we need. Let's just use that, so.
Now, for the question that you've been waiting for. We've been talking about how good everything has been getting with the band. What did you do to make that happen?
We hired Kaylee to come in and teach tenor to all our guys, and that's what ultimately turned us around. Kaylee Jones. That's it.
Come on.
I have to say, and I've told Kaylee this story, and I'll just say this for the listening public. The first time we had her out, so Ed Best was our snare coach, and he recommended you. And this was 5 years ago?
I think so, yeah.
Sounds right.
And so we had, whatever there was, 60, 70, and there was, I don't know, so you had 5 or 6 tenors.
Yeah, somewhere like that.
Something like that. But my point being that in the last episode, again, you need to go back and listen to the last episode. I'm not putting up with this anymore. Go now. In the last episode, we talked about the personality of firefighters. And so Ed recommends, and I talked to you on the phone, and I'm thinking, oh my God, they're going to eat her alive. Like,
yeah, she's going to get ate up at this thing,
And soft-spoken, and she's a wonderful person, but oh my God, these, and so our rooms were attached. There was that little goofy sliding door. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And I kept, like listening out there because I could hear, especially my buddies from San Diego, Dave and Mike and others. Well, this is the way we do it, and I don't know what you're talking about. And I can hear all this, and then you just hear Kaylee talking, and so I'm listening to this. I'm looking at Ed. Ed's like, fine, it's okay, it's fine. All right. And by lunchtime, these guys were following you around like puppy dogs. Like you just had eating out of your hands.
It's true. It's absolutely true. There is no way that we can replace Kaylee. Like if we get her back every year, we would have a mutiny, and it would be led by the tenor drummers.
Those guys cornered me at the end of that day, and they're like, "You better have her back. We're not coming." And and we still get that with everybody. We didn't get to see those guys last year, but with everybody, all the instructors are loved, and we appreciate that so much.
Yeah, it's firefighter personality.
Yeah, so honestly, that's all. I mean, Kaylee's a big part of that, but we started the workshop to just get people to realize there's more to playing whatever instrument it is. You're a musician. You're not, just whatever people would want to call you, a bagpiper or whatever. I mean, you're a musician. You play a musical instrument. So that means you have to learn how to play it correctly, and everybody, there's room for improvement for everybody. And the way that we've done that is to every year try to push the students at the workshop to just a little bit more, like, okay, well, let's go for personal sound on this stuff. Let's see what, and the good part is we get Brian Donaldson and Donald McBride and Glenn Brown and folks like that that come out, and then we go, hey, this is what it's supposed to sound like. And people understand that. They go, okay, cool, I have something to shoot for. It doesn't mean any of us will ever achieve that, but at least we know that there's room for improvement in everything we do, and there's ways to push yourself to get better. Even if you take one thing away, you take one little piece from the workshop, cool, that's what it's there for. And I always tell the pipers anyways, I've gone to a ton of the schools, Flagstaff, gone to the CBEC school with the Celtic Arts Foundation up in Washington State. And you can go into every bagpipe teacher's class or every drum teacher's class, and they're going to tell you how to do whatever it is they're doing, right? Whether it's hemping a reed seat or a joint on your pipes or hemping their reed. they'll tell you, well, this is absolutely how you have to do it. Well, then you go to the next guy and he's doing it different. So what I try to enforce is like, go in there and get something out of it. Like if it doesn't work for you, don't do it. You'll move on. Like it's just a piece of advice that works for this person. Take all those good pieces and put them together and use what works for you. And I think that it's worked out pretty well. Guys they're getting good. You know, they're getting a lot better, and the sound is improving every year. And I think that's ultimately all we could really ask for. I don't want to think that we're coming out of there with a field marshal sound or anything like that, but it's, you know, like they're coming out with improvements every year, and then that's the goal. So it doesn't matter if we learn 15 new tunes or we don't learn any new tunes. If the sound is better, then we're good. Let's come back again and do it again.
Yeah, and Sean hit on the important thing there is just get a little bit better. Just raise the bar a little bit each year. No harm, no impossible tasks, and being able to just bump it up a little bit. We're not going to be a competition group. We're not going for grade 1. We're not going any of that. But again, like we talked about in the previous episode, if we're here to honor our fallen, then we're going to do that properly. And so just get a little better at it this year. Let's work on our attacks and tempo this year. Let's have that be a focus. Okay, great. You got something out of that. You know, with the drummers, you know, Sean had mentioned previously about, you know, hey, gosh, I'm out of tune or this or that. We don't have that anymore. Everybody's completely got it, you know, and handling all that and making sure that gets done. But it's just every little step we can take is going to make it better. So let's just keep going in that direction.
Yeah, I think having been around for the past 5 years too, I don't know if our listeners caught that, but the Arizona Fire Service Pipe Band has a 2-day or trying to make it 3-day workshop, possibly.
It would be an option of 2 or 3 days.
2 to 3
No,
days.
5 days.
2
5 days.
plus 3 is 5. So they have an annual workshop where everyone just comes and just learns for those full 2 to 3 days. And I know Adela can attest to this from the time that you and I taught together, where we split the class in half because we had so many drummers, and you took a group of people who had never even touched a pair of tenor mallets before, and I took a group of people, and at the beginning of day 2, we work with them. Beginning of day 2, they come back and they are just incredible. Like the progress. I mean, they're not grade 1 by the beginning of day 2, but that progress after that day, the 2 days, is just incredible. So
thank you. All right, so now
I think we're taking they're taking the time. If they're taking the time to be there, they want to do something better. They want to get better at something. And if we can figure out what that something is for them, then that's what we're shooting for. And it's different for every person that comes there, and every instrument set, every section has a different goal or a different outcome. But if they take something away from it, then I'm happy with how it works, you know.
Yeah. So now's a good time for the shameless plug for our school. So if you follow AZ Fire Pipes on either Facebook or Instagram, that's where we're at. And then you'll, when the time comes next year for our school, unfortunately we had to cancel this year's with everything going on. When the time comes again, we do it in the first weekend of August. The next time around, there will be and that's Sean's mustache, there will be a 2 or 3 day option. And it is, so that everyone knows, it is for fire and police players only, for service band players only. But anyone around the country or wherever, we've had people in this past year, we had New Hampshire and Alaska and California, New Mexico, Texas. So that's what we're there for, and it's going to be all about everything we're talking about. Let's get a little better. Let's bring us, let's make our formations work a little cleaner. Let's get our tone and our tuning and our sound together a little bit better and everything. And we bring in these incredible instructors. Sean mentioned the pipers, and Ed Best, yourselves have been there. Kyle Ricks and Bruce Voris and Rod Bain, and we bring in these great people to just help move things along. But the important thing about these instructors is they get what we're doing. Like they understand that. You talked in the last episode the differences between pipe bands or service bands and civilian band, and they get that difference, and they get what it is we're up to. And so I think that makes a big difference in how that gets delivered, so that people get a heck of a lot out of those couple of days.
Did you mention Rod Bain too? I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Yeah. I think that's a big one for us too, because I think a lot of times in the fire service world, maybe, that guys go, I'll just play the bass. Like they don't want to put the time and effort into pipes or snare. And I'm not saying this is all the time. By all means, please don't take it that way. But I feel like sometimes they feel it's a fallback. Same with drum major stuff. And through this workshop, I believe that we've changed that mentality with both the drum majoring and the bass playing, because it's the heartbeat of the band. And if you don't know the music, we're done. You know, the whole band is done. So I feel like that's been a big lesson to a lot of groups out there too, fire service wise in the state, because you got to have a solid bass drummer.
Yeah, so I'll try not to get on too much of a rant here on those topics. I've people who come to me and say, "Oh yeah, drum. Oh yeah, I want to do that. I want to learn snare." I say, "Okay, great. It'll take about 12 to 18 months to make you a good, solid line player, so that you're reliable at any of the performances and you can contribute musically. You won't be ready to lead yet for a few more years after that, but." You know, and then, well then, you know, what about tenor? I could play tenor. I go, oh, okay. It'll take about 12 to 18 months. Line player, and you know, and they're like, and then I've heard this more than once. Oh, well, I'll just play bass. And you know, I resist punching them in the throat and explain to them, okay, it'll take about 12 to 18 months. Make you a competent line player. Are you understanding this yet? You know, Sean talked in, I think, the last episode about we're musicians. We took this on. We're not just fire. Now we're musicians. It's a musical instrument. You know, I mean, someone showed up to the symphony and said, "Hey, I'd like to violin. Oh, it's going to take a long time. I'll just play timpani." You know, bounced out on their ear. So Sean's right though. That conversation. And let me make sure I'm not upsetting anyone. I'm not saying to anyone out there in our band or others, I'm not pointing you up personally, there's some problem. Our basses are fantastic. They know what they're doing. And now they've seen that higher level and that like expanded view of what it is to be the center of time for the band, right? So the drum major conversation, and I'll say this freely because I've personally spoken to the people that I won't name them, but the example I'm giving, I've personally spoken to them about this and joked about it. But there will definitely be, unfortunately, in the service world, people who say, I want to be the guy that carries the big stick. I want to be the guy in front. I want to be the guy in charge. I want to be the guy yelling the commands. And they have no musical background. And they have no, no, I'm just going to do that. I said, well, I asked the one guy who said, hey, we're getting our band started. I'm going to be the drum major. I said, oh, fantastic. How long have you been playing? Snare, bass, what do you play? Piper, what do you play? How long have you been doing it? That's really great. You got all that experience behind you to be able to do that. To which he said, well, no, I've never played an instrument. Well, if you haven't played one, how are you going to lead one? Much less all of them. And now the question started to come up on his face, right? And we just talked about it. I said, look, it's your department, you do what you want to do. But if, you have to know the role of drum major isn't just waving a stick around. You're in command of the music. Start them, stop them, keep them in time, fix them, move them, all this stuff, dress them, organize them. And if you don't have an intimate understanding of what that is, how are you possibly going to lead that? I said, when you got hired on the fire department, did you go into your interview and say you wanted to be a battalion chief? No, you're going to the academy. We'll see if you even get to be a firefighter. Right? You don't go in there and say, yeah, I want to work for your department. I'll be the battalion chief and I'll yell the commands and I'll tell people what to do. So it's the same thing. It's called major for a reason. It's a promotion. You have to, so there's my soapbox on that. That said, again, like I talked before about the crossover with civilian bands, there is becoming so much more of an awareness of that in service bands that it's really exciting to see. It's exciting to see that people are getting that expanded view of it and taking it more seriously.
Yeah.
When I was in high school marching band, I was the section leader of front ensemble, and if anybody didn't make drumline, they'd go to front ensemble, and they'd be stuck in front ensemble, and then they'd realize it'd be too hard for them, and it definitely carries over into pipe band, where, oh, I can't play snare, I'll just play tenor. That's easy enough, and well, it's not.
No, nothing's
challenge.
easy about pipe band. Like that's the first thing you got to tell folks too, is like, there's no easy instrument in this. If you get it, you get out of it what you put in. It's just like anything else in life. If you think you're gonna walk there and just pick something up and you're gonna be the best player around, that ain't happening. Like, and even the top level players in the world work their butts off to be the top level players in the world. Like, they're putting in the time. If you're willing to do it, then stop. Just stop. Stop now. Save your time. You know.
So what do you think the band has improved upon most in the past few years?
I think we kind of answered that, or Matt did in his half-hour dissertation there.
So Matt doesn't get to talk on this one. No.
Good luck with that. It's just the kind of the cohesiveness of the ability to come in an hour, get ready to do what used to take us 3 hours to do. So, like, to me, the musicality, the awareness, I guess, the awareness of, I mean, we've all been there where we've seen guys just strike up bagpipes and just play and not care, or not seem to not notice how wildly out of tune they might be or whatever. And you're just like, how can you stand to listen to that? So, like, that awareness, I think, has improved over the years. And then the sound gets a little better and better each time every year. So I mean, keeps going that route. I'm good. Like, I'm happy with it. Matthew, is he pouting?
Oh, I can talk now, sir?
Yes, you may speak now.
Ditto.
Yeah, quick. Ask the next question, quick.
So, yeah, what is the band going to be working on next?
I think this year it's going to be next year, so it's going to be the back to the basics thing of let's go back to where we started from and kind of run through again, and hopefully we can knock some more stuff, check some more boxes, as it were. But just getting back to let's get back to the memorial hits that we want everybody to play and be comfortable with and improve on, and instead of trying to add anything for the guys and girls to work on, I think we just want to continue to improve with what we have. And the idea of the 3-day workshop versus the 2-day would be maybe the people that want to come in the day early can get a couple tunes to learn the side. But ultimately, I think what we want to do is just kind of polish a lot of the stuff and maybe knock the dust off some of the other stuff that we haven't played in a while.
Yeah, we'll keep moving with the plans for next year's school. See how that develops. Really exciting. I mean, last year we had, what was the total, Sean? 98 registered?
Yeah, well, just short of 100. Yeah,
it was beautiful. So keep building on that. And the other new thing is going to be, although it won't be every gig and all the time, but now having a drum major, and which is something we haven't had before, and no one here in the state has worked with before. So just, all right, now you got to understand, the yelling is going to come from here instead of here, and here's what this means, and blah blah blah, and just get them used to that. Probably won't take long. They're smart.
And you're going to be the guy doing the yelling, right?
Yeah, imagine that. I'll be doing the yelling.
Yeah, go figure. That's the funny part about me being the pipe major. I'm probably the quietest guy in the entire e-board on the group there, but when it's time, I can be loud, I guess. Not Matt Cottini loud, but I can get loud enough. So always good to have guys like the Matts around, Matt Clark and Matt Cottini, because they got big booming voices. And if I'm not getting through, I just ask one of them, and it definitely helps out. So.
So, what advice would you give someone who's in a service band who wants to improve but doesn't know where to start? I mean, obviously come to your workshop, right?
Yeah, get an instructor.
Get an instructor, get on the internet. The schools are out there. They're all over the country. They're mostly good. So.
Yeah, I mean, if that ultimately get somebody that, and don't try to learn off YouTube, get somebody that knows what they're doing. And I'm not saying there's not good stuff on YouTube, but have your instructor tell you what to watch on YouTube, not just go pick. So yeah, have somebody who knows what they're listening for and set you down the right path there.
And I would definitely say if you're currently a drummer, whether you've been in drum line or drum set or whatever you've been doing, this is not the same. It just isn't. And what you know will not help as much as you think it would to become good at this. And you have to get an instructor, and no, don't learn off YouTube. Absolutely, the worst thing you can do is just grab the sheet music and start trying to do that. That's the worst thing you can do. There's a lot of foundation that's got to get built. And I'm saying that if anybody out there is thinking, oh, I've done all this as a drummer. I've done it all and more. I've been doing this for 40 years, and I went to university.
That's old. That's what he's trying to tell you.
I've played every percussion instrument there is out there as a performer. This is radically different, and it took at least a couple years for me to really get the habits I had out of my hands to really start to develop and build the proper technique and habits for this style. And I'm not awesome. I'm not amazing or anything. I'm far from that, So if you're coming this from another drum experience, be warned, this one is different.
And you can always reach out to us on our social media or get a hold of one of us, and we'll be happy to give you some resources or whatever in your area too. Like you're not going to call me and I'm going to go, well, you have to come to me. You have to come and talk and get lessons from me, from Matt Cottini. That's not what we're about. We want you to get with whatever's convenient and what works for you, but we're going to tell you what worked for us at the beginning as well. And I believe what most of the pipers and the good pipers in the world would tell you is, and I've heard it at schools too, is get an instructor.
Yeah, which with Zoom, which we're doing here and everything, you can do online from anywhere. Sean's right. Just get a hold of us, AZ Fire Pipes on Facebook or Instagram, and we will help you out wherever you are in the country. We probably know someone or some band or something near you. We'll hook you up with whoever, and there's a lot of great instructors. There's a lot of great stuff going on with, obviously Ed with Scottish Drum Lessons and Jane Laughlin and Winston Murdoch, what they've started with the North Texas Caledonian group there and what they're offering to fire department drummers in particular, but now partnered with Craig Monroe and everything they're offering is fantastic. So the resources are out there. We will more than happily get you to all of them.
That answers question number 6 too.
Talk to you guys.
So could you guys tell that he became a battalion chief this year, or that he's chief guy now? He's in charge now?
No, I was just acting.
You acting cool is what you doing.
Story of my life, Matt.
For the benefit of our listeners at home, the question is,
So, what advice would you give someone who wants to start a band for their department? Check our description on our video. We'll link to these guys. They'll help you out.
yeah,
Absolutely, all those same things. And maybe, just give us a holler and we'll tell you what worked for us. Again, we're not so arrogant that we would tell you absolutely have to do something this way. We're just going to give you what's worked for us. If that works for you, great. If it doesn't, please find your way, and we'll give you contacts to other folks as well. But yeah, starting up the band and all that stuff, it's tricky. I think we started a group of folks with lessons, and I think we had 12 people in the class and 2 of them made it to pipes. So like the attrition rate is high, and just knowing that before you get into it is probably really, really important. So
Yeah.
You should just like go buy bagpipes.
right. Hey, and if it's cheap and you can get it for $33 or whatever on eBay, because I told you the one to go buy was $100 and something dollars. Just trust me, you're going to spend $100 and something dollars replacing the $33, inferior product that maybe came from another country that's outside of the good makers, as it were.
Yeah, that's a really critical thing, Kaylee. Thank you for it. Is that we did this. We were at fault with this in Peoria, and that's how one of the ways I learned how the worst thing to do is say, oh, okay, you want to be in a band? You want to be in a band? You want to join the band? Great, we're a band now. We're a band now. We need uniforms and instruments. And some places, the departments will help with that money, or their related charity organization or their union or something might help with that money. And we did it with ours, and we bought a whole bunch of kilts and tunics and instruments. And then, like Sean talked about, the attrition rate of interest just went whoop down, and that's lost money. And it just is what it is. People have different timing of things in their life, but it's really important. I know Sean and I have had the good fortune and humbled to be asked by a lot of departments to help them get started. There's, I think Sean, like 36 fire departments now we figured in the state that have players.
Yeah, in that neighborhood, I believe. Sounds about right.
And we've probably over the last 6-7 years together helped 10, maybe 12 of them to get rolling. And the very first thing is, don't buy anything. Okay, first things first, don't buy anything. Slow down. Practice chanters, practice pads. We'll start there. And this might sound harsh, but I like having the understanding you're not a band yet. You will be, but you're not yet. What you have is interest. You have people who are interested. Perhaps they're musicians, from before, but they're interested in being a band. Once you have people proficient, up and running on pipes, up and running on drums, then now you got a band. And so we've actually started doing a thing called a kilting ceremony, which has gone a long way to this understanding of the difference between being a student and being a band member. Because I know, like I had talked in the last episode, when the captain came up to me and said, hey, all right, I'm going to learn the pipes, you're going to learn the drums, go. And it was like, we got uniforms and instruments and we'll figure it out as we go. And they handicapped us, didn't help us in trying to, become good at it. So now we do these kilting ceremonies, which is, all right, great. You've been a student and your instructor says, okay, you've met the minimum standards, whatever they be. Now you can earn a kilt. And we put on this really fun pub atmosphere, and everybody comes out and we play, and they have to go up on stage and play a tune. And then the crowd, votes with applause. They get to be in the band. And then they're actually handed their kilt then. Now you're a band member. And it's really been cool to see this, because the students that I've brought through that process, they are so bought into it. They're going to earn that kilt. If it kills them, they're going to earn that. But now it's something they earned, something they know had value and they had to grab onto. And I've found it with a couple of people who have said as they're going, they're work or whatever, I'm like, man, you just practice all the time. I got to get my kilt in. And then it starts piquing interest of other people. Like, well, wait a minute. Well, if you can do it, I can do it. And stuff like, so I'm kind of rambling off track here, but that kilting ceremony thing has become such a cool part of creating, kind of that culture, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I don't remember if I'm supposed to ask this last one or if you are.
It's your turn.
Okay. I don't want to step on you. I'm sorry. All right. Feel good last question. What are you most looking forward to about pipe band in the next year or two? Which I know we always ask this question, and just recently it's gotten a little bit weird because of recent events. But just what are you looking forward to?
In pipe band,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the obvious answer from this year is actually the contests again. Get back out so we can see those friends we talked about that we haven't seen in a year. Back out on the field and have some good tunes and have a good time. Honestly, like, I'm super bummed because we can't watch the Worlds. There's no Worlds viewing parties. There's no Glenfiddich. Well, that hadn't been canceled yet, but like all the Northern meeting, I think, got canceled and all that. So like the big solo stuff, there's nothing, no piping live stuff on the internet, the interwebs this year. We're possibly taking a trip to Scotland this year for Matt's birthday. I won't mention the year that his birthday, which year it is, but it's a big one. It's a big, milestone type birthday. That got scrapped, and a couple of the schools we were supposed to go to got scrapped, and a lot of people are doing some online options, but it's not the same. It's a good stopgap measure, but it's not the same thing. So it's a weird way to say it, but I want things to get back to normal how they were before all this stuff started going on.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to just doing anything. I honestly just say, okay, great, let's go do a colors posting or something. Awesome. I get to see you guys. I get to play again. I get to, enjoy this thing again. So I'm looking forward to any of that. I'm actually, so because of all this, I do lessons at my house every week. So obviously I haven't been doing that because, unfortunately, the reality is we're probably the most infected segment of the population there is, given our jobs. And so I'm looking at starting those lessons up again this coming month.
And that birthday I was talking about put Matt at high risk too. So he didn't want to talk about that part. But
you're putting yourself at high risk.
Every day, my friend, every day.
Yeah, so just looking forward to that. Hopefully we'll get to reschedule this birthday trip next year to Scotland. But our Arizona Memorial in January is basically the only thing we got on the calendars right now as far as the fire band goes. So we don't even know if that'll happen.
Yep.
Cool.
That's it.
I guess that's all we got. Anything else you want to say to the viewers at home?
AZ Fire Pipes on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
AZ Fire Pipes.
Yep.
Remember that. Go check them out. Seriously. AZ Fire Pipes. They're an impressive organization. Just check them out. Even if you're not a firefighter and want to just see some stuff that they've done, they post stuff that they do, and it's cool. So check them out. AZ Fire Pipes. What is it?
Thanks.
AZ Fire Pipes.
Are we sure?
Positive. Thanks, Kaylee.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you guys again. This has been really fun.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening, everyone. If you enjoyed this show, then support us on Patreon for exclusive content as well as the video of us recording this. We'll have special exercises we'll be writing as well as tips and tricks with tenor drumming and other instruments to come. Subscribe to us on YouTube for some tenor tutorials and possibly other tutorials later on. And like us on Facebook at Podband Pipecast.